Hi, Will.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm LaShay, and I am the Marketing and Communications Manager here at South Carolina APEX Accelerator. I wanted to officially welcome you to our APEX interview series, where we are highlighting South Carolina small business owners who have successfully navigated and won government contracts with the support of South Carolina APEX. This series that we develop is designed to share real stories, your journeys into government contracting, the challenges that you and many business owners face, the turning points along the way, and the real impact, the access to training, and the strategic support that you've had towards helping your business grow. And we're excited to hear your story, learn about your experiences, and share them with other entrepreneurs looking to take the same step into government contracting. So, to start off, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company. What do you do? What was your path like before entering government contracting and meeting the South Carolina APEX team?
Hey, my name is Will Laroche. I'm with Complete Solutions Contracting out of Irmo, South Carolina, and we're a general contractor who has historically been more in the residential game around here, and we've moved into the commercial game a few years back, and we've had some wins in the federal marketplace as in the subcontractor and trade partner route. And it's my task as the business development and coordinator with a little bit of a background in estimating to take those successes that we have had and try to turn them into more. My personal background, I've spent most of my career in and around the real estate and construction industries, more on the residential side of things.
Okay.
I spent years working with home builders doing purchasing and estimating, and I've been fortunate to have found Complete Solutions Contracting, and like I said, they had some very good wins in the federal realm with some projects that they won at Fort Jackson, and it kind of organically grew into recommendations to other federal contractors, and we now have work that we're either working on or estimating at three different federal or military bases right now currently. Fort Bragg is our latest one, and we're looking at doing some work potentially at Robins Air Force Base in Georgia as well. So, you know, as our team has built that success organically, it's my job to kind of figure out what the next steps look like to get more in this realm, and through that I discovered the APEX Accelerator program, and that brings me here today.
That's so exciting. I know you said you are new to the company. Do you know what motivated them to begin to pivot more into the government contracting space versus the private sector with like one-off clients?
Yeah, Complete Solutions Contracting, my owner, Thunder Shahan, he started this company a little over 12 years ago, and he really wanted to do something different. He's been in different areas and different industries throughout the early part of his career, and he ended up figuring out how to hang drywall, used YouTube of all things to learn how to hang drywall, and has steadily grown it to now he employs 22 people, and 24 if you include him and his wife and the roles they take. And it's grown, and we employ 12 laborers full-time, and it's growing organically. We're about to open up our own building, and he just wants to do things in a different route, and as we sustain that growth and move into the next phase, as we move into our new building and take these next steps, it definitely is nice to know you have repeat business, and you're not trying to chase one-off projects, and you can sustain those relationships and not rely on just yourself to generate the income to help provide for the families he's helped provide for the last 12 years, but to rely on the community and the federal marketplace. That's one thing that has become clear, is it's definitely a community of businesses that work together and work with the government.
That's good. I love that. And I love to hear the growth that your organization is making, and especially with transitioning to a new building. That's growth. That shows that there is so many opportunities in the government contracting space that can actually help open a lot of doors for business growth and economic development. So before, I know you're in your role as business development, and it sounds like prior to you coming into the company, that they were already into the government contracting space, and a lot of things have been organically built. But for you, learning about government contracting, what has been the biggest challenge or frustration that you've experienced personally with navigating government contracting?
We can talk about the acronyms. I mean, you can get a 4-year degree in just learning how to navigate the acronyms in federal contracting, and then you add the state stuff on top of it. It gets quite complicated. But no, it's been good. It's definitely a challenge. One of the coolest things for me is, personally, I don't have a military background or anything like that, and some of the processes and the way things work and how it's actually done versus the way that a civilian like myself probably has viewed it most of my life. It's definitely, they talk about that mission and everyone's working towards that mission, and man, it's kind of infectious. It definitely gets you encouraged to want to be a part of that. So that definitely there's a team out there that's helping, and that's the big takeaway I've had is, this work is not easy. It's harder in a lot of ways. You gotta be on top of everything from a documentation standpoint alone, just dealing with the extra stuff like that. But it's also all laid out there for you as best they can do, and you don't get that in the private sector. You're working off a lot of assumptions, and while they're still there in the federal space, the assumptions, and it's on you to ask the questions, and it's on you to do your due diligence, and there's no unknowns unless you leave it to be that way. So from a growth standpoint, to me, that seems like a great way for some stability.
I've heard that a lot about government contracting as a fellow business owner who has previously worked with private clients. It's a lot of unknown things there. Sometimes you render a service or they hire you for a service, and even though you can do your due diligence and think you have it crystal clear what service you're providing, sometimes it seems to be, a little unclear over time. But everyone that I've spoken with so far, they kind of know what they're getting into with government contracting.
Yeah, well, I mean, we definitely did, and the company probably had more of a idea than I personally did when I was tasked with this project. But I've definitely gotten a crash course in it, and it's been good for me, and it's been fun. There's definitely resources like yourself and many others, and just other contractors. Doesn't matter. It doesn't seem like, for me, from my perception, and I could be off base, but there's work available for everyone from the smallest of bonding capacity to the people that can bond the $4 billion projects.
Yeah.
So there's work available, and they seem to all kind of work together, and it's very much a relationship game. And in my opinion, I kind of seem to like the federal side a little more than even the state side for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't see themselves or how their business can, or their expertise could be tailored to the government side. And since being with Apex, I have honestly learned how that, my perspective of that has changed. There are a lot of people who, especially in the military, who have been in their profession for years. They've served in the military, they're preparing to retire, and they're going into the civilian world, and just learning that there's a space where they can take their military expertise and package it up and sell it back to the government. And even those that are in a private sector or corporate sector that are working, they spend so many years doing project management, and even things like that could be packaged and sold to the government as well. And just kind of talk about like the different acronyms. I'm new to Apex, and I am still learning all of the different acronyms and the ABCDEFGs of the world. But since working with Apex, I know that Cordesia is your counselor, and she's amazing. Can you talk me through what has changed for the company that you work with, and even for yourself since being connected with Apex?
Okay. So for me personally, I'll say, just like with any of this, I'm big on due diligence and doing my homework and research. And, when you do that, it can seem very intimidating and it can be hard to pull the trigger on things. And for me personally, having Cordesia in my corner in the Apex program, knowing that they're there, that I can and send her any opportunity and she can evaluate it with me, and I have a team behind me that we might not be able to hire for yet, because we've had that to this point where, we have had projects that someone has sent me that could put us at a disadvantage if we would have taken on the project, or, it might would have put us where we couldn't have continued with the work that got us to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we do this and do this strategically, having the Apex program, for me, is a good confidence booster going into these meetings with larger GCs and the people that we're, trying to offer trade partner relationships for. And then as we work towards, maybe getting our own project, whether it be, at Fort Jackson or another federal agency or National Guard or whoever, and we build those relationships, knowing that I'll have someone help me with those proposals and, give me the advice and help me understand what I'm actually bidding on, because that's a big part of it, is understanding the scope to a lot of these and what the government's actually asking, and, get yourself in trouble quicker sometimes than you want to believe by just taking every opportunity. So having this program available for companies like ourselves, I don't know how you would have done this process without making a lot larger investment or changing the entire company and the direction of the company as a whole to try to gain success in this realm. So the program allows us to kind of subdivide myself and a couple other guys off to be able to pursue this to hopefully benefit the whole company long term, while keeping us stable on the short end.
I love that. I think a lot of people, when you're growing and you're scaling a business, when you're looking to tap into new industries, financially, the cost to grow and scale means that, hey, we may have to hire this organization to help funnel opportunities. And if you're growing and scaling, sometimes you just don't have that capital to do that.
That's right.
And I think for me as the marketing manager here, I wish that our program was something that a lot of small business owners would really tap into and utilize, because it's free, but it's not just, I think a lot of times when people think about free, they think that the quality is diluted, but our team here, they're knowledgeable. And I know Ron hates the word expert, but I feel like the team here, they're very knowledgeable in their respective fields. And I think it could really help a lot of small business owners and even bigger companies who are just looking to grow without having to put someone on payroll to help contribute to that growth.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, just the capital investment and just someone to evaluate the opportunities alone, an analyst, or, before you ever get to the estimating and actually getting the jobs and all the meat and potatoes of it, just identifying what's a good option for you or whatnot, because there is no shortage of opportunity out there. And that's been abundantly clear through this process.
I love that. Since working with Apex, I know sometimes we think success means winning your first contract or winning a contract or subbing on a contract. That's not always the case. Can you talk to me or just kind of tell me, since working with Apex, has that relationship contributed to contracts won, new opportunities gained, relationships that you guys may have built? And honestly, what has growth meant for you, for the business overall? And then how has it helped impact your confidence and strategy moving forward? That was a loaded question.
Yeah. So I think it's helped in several ways. First and foremost, just the recommendations on where to go. And, we recently joined the SAME organization, Society of American Military Engineers. We've gone to a couple of their conferences that you recommended for me, and the relationships we've met at those conferences are, I think, going to be invaluable. And, you know, without going and her recommendation, you know, sometimes it's, you talk about, you know, it's almost like a pay to play system, right? You know, it's very much still a good old boy system, and you got to get in front of the right people. And you know, if it wasn't for those experiences going to that and, you know, getting in front of people and learning, and also just those experiences, the reception I've gotten and my owner's gotten to our company and what we had to offer really gives you confidence going forward that everyone truly is working together. Because at the end of the day, these companies that do have the contracts with the feds already, you know, they have to perform. They got to get it done. At the end of the day, they just got to get the job done. So they'll work with whoever they need to work with to get it done, as long as they're reputable and everything. So the relationships, you know, that we've built with work locally, not just here in Columbia, or not just in the state of South Carolina, but even here locally at Fort Jackson and surrounding federal facilities, and the hidden infrastructure you don't necessarily realize is there, like the GSA that you have me working towards, and all of that you don't realize, that the amount of opportunity that you drive by every day, that here locally we don't have to drive to Florida, or, you know, we don't have to send a crew down to Florida even though we're licensed there. You know, we could keep this more focused in here, especially in the short term. As we scale it, we don't have to take those opportunities in Texas, which we've gotten, you know, or whatever, you know. So it's been a good process, and if it wasn't for the APEX program, I don't know if I would have gone that route, at least as soon as I have. And that success, what success looks like is those relationships and building those relationships. You know, we're currently estimating work for multiple federal GCs and contract vehicle holders on multiple bases, and multiple projects on multiple bases. And, you know, the ones, you know, just one or two of them hit, it can change the company. And so as we move forward in this, that's the big takeaway, is the APEX program. And, you know, you see them and they bring you credibility. You show up to an event, and, you know, you talk to them, and we all know your funding comes partially, at least, through the DoD, and you're trying to work with the DoD guys. People, you need to talk to the APEX program. And I'm like, oh, I'm already working with them. That immediately has given me credibility in several conversations that have led to some relationships. So, you know, the whole 9 yards. And then from what I've seen, you guys get out there to the events, whether it's the SBA or the local stuff. So
I really do love that. And I remember at the SAMI event, when we were leaving, passing you in the hallway, and your excitement about the relationships that you had gained just then, a few hours of being in attendance. If you had to share one piece of advice to a small business owner who is thinking about government contracting, what would that be, and why?
It seems intimidating, and it is intimidating, but there are resources between just the community of companies that are in that realm and the government itself, with programs like this self. There's others that, you know, are around in different support organizations. The government wants you to be successful. That's clear. They may make you jump through hoops to get there, but, you know, I think that's part of their ensuring that by the time you are awarded a contract, that you're going to be successful. So if you're willing to go through that, the help's there, and it'll lead to success. You just gotta stick with it. It can be intimidating, but it's really not.
Well, thank you so much, Will, for sharing your story, telling us a little behind the scenes to what you all do. I think that as we continue this series, our goal is to really highlight to small businesses what access to the right tools, the right people, and the right organization can look like, and how that can actually scale their businesses and help contribute to economic growth. Before we close out, can you tell everybody how they can get connected to you all, your website, if you have LinkedIn or social media?
All right, well, we're CSC or Complete Solutions Contracting on LinkedIn, and we're, getting going on maintaining those pages and all that. It's the stuff that, the background stuff that you might not have had to have prior to it, but we have a website, cscmidlands.com. And again, you can find me at William Laroche on LinkedIn, and Complete Solutions Contracting on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for being a part of the South Carolina APEX community.
Thank you, guys.